Many people talk about being a good enough parent. Have you ever wondered what that really means? Have you created a definition or an image of a good enough parent in your mind? Does it mean we get to watch Netflix all day and not feel guilty about it? Or is there more to this phrase that we're missing? I've often thought about this, and I think I've got it figured out. I'll share it with you in a second. Welcome to Encouraging Discipline, where together we learn to live consciously and lead respectfully. So here's what I'll share in this video. Why we need the good enough parent concept. What are some of the mistakes that parents can make when they hear it? And what my definition of the good enough parent is and how it can help you in your parenting and development. So first, let's see why we need to talk about the good enough parent. Well, we have a tendency to be overly critical of ourselves, and that is especially true for parents. We compare ourselves to other people's appearances, and notice that I'm saying appearances because we don't really know what's going on the inside, right? We compare ourselves to whatever appearance is on the outside. We also compare ourselves to some standards that exist or we think exist about how we should parent and do things, and this can put a lot of stress and pressure on us. At the same time, we live in a society that values perfection. There doesn't seem to be much room for error, for mistakes, for imperfections. We're expected to conform to this set of arbitrary standards. Let's look at some of these. Children's work and performance in school is scored and graded. At home, their behavior is given consequences or rewards. At work, can't make any mistakes. And on social media, posts and videos value is measured in likes and hearts. Make a mistake and the whole world berates you publicly on social media and shreds you to pieces. There isn't much tolerance for humanness in our world. Now, as you've probably noticed, we're very hard on ourselves and on others. We're maybe even harder on our kids. And the reason for this is because we fear that they might be judged by others, and we know that being judged hurts. We don't want our children to feel this pain, and we don't want ourselves to feel the pain of watching our children suffer. So we want to make sure that they do everything right so others have nothing to complain about. All these attitudes of criticism and control are related to an idea of perfection that we have to live up to. Now, of course, we know that perfection doesn't exist. It's just a creation of the human mind, which can vary across cultures and individuals. It's not an absolute. In particular, we can't talk about perfection when we talk about human beings, because every human being is so different from another. There's so much variation that we can't establish an absolute definition of perfection that is universally accepted as being valid. Now, additionally, human beings were constantly changing and evolving, and we know that growing and learning is based on making mistakes. So it makes no sense to talk about perfection in the context of human existence. We just have to accept it. There isn't any perfection. And the beauty of it is that we develop more compassion for ourselves and others and our children and our partners and so forth. And when we accept that we're exactly where we're supposed to be in our development and that we're ever evolving, we're not static beings, then we begin to see ourselves and our children as complete and whole beings. We're exactly as we should be in this moment. And then we take each day one step at a time. Now, there are many experts and parents who have pointed out how damaging it can be to have such high standards and expectations of ourselves. So the good enough parent archetype appeared as a reaction to this perfectionist tendency. However, I don't think many of us know exactly what this good enough parent looks like. Now, there's a book called A Good Enough Parent by Bruno Bettelheim, and he defines the good enough parent as someone who doesn't strive to be perfect, but also doesn't expect perfection from his or her children. Okay, this makes sense, right, to a certain extent. It sort of absolves us of the pressure to do everything right and perfect. However, it doesn't really create a concrete image in my head. Now, for a few years, I've been trying to figure out, the good enough parent. And I finally come to a conclusion. Being a good enough parent is to go from a level 1 to level 2. That's it. No more. Let me explain. I want you to imagine that we're on a scale of awareness that can go from 1 to 10. And looking back on our childhood, we can conclude that our parents were probably at a level 1 or 2 if we're lucky. And that means that they made parental decisions from a place of relative unconsciousness, following patterns of behavior and reactions handed down to them from their parents and culture. And as a result of the way that we were parented, we're probably at a level 1 ourselves, right, of awareness. So then we begin our parenting, that's where we're at. Now my goal is to go to a level 2. And if I'm successful in becoming more aware of what I've inherited from my parents, then I can go to the next level, which means that my kids will start off in life at a level 2. What a great success, which will mean they're already at a higher level than I am. So how do we go from level 1 to level 2? Well, to progress, we have to learn 3 things. 1, we need to learn parenting skills. Number 2, we need to develop what Dr. Dan Siegel calls insight, which can help us basically make sense of our past and our childhood so that we're less likely to repeat the mistakes that our parents made. And number 3, we need to develop an awareness in the present moment, which can help us notice ourselves when we're about to follow a pattern so that we can break this cycle. So we need 3 things. We need to learn parenting skills, we need to develop insight to understand our past, and we need to develop awareness in the present moment. And this is an ongoing process. So becoming a better parent, a good enough parent, means a lot of inner work, basically. Now, should we aspire to go to a level 5 or 7 or 10? Now, if we think of level 10 as the highest level of awareness and development that we can reach at an individual level, then, you can't really jump from 1 to 10. Can you go from a total newbie tennis player to winning a Grand Slam overnight? I'm going to guess the answer is no. You can't become a champion overnight. So it's really impossible to jump levels like that. We just need to take it one step at a time. Now, each level of skill and development requires a lot of work and effort to master. So even though going from 1 to 2 seems like such small progress, it's in fact a lot of dedicated work. I also think it's a lot harder to advance when we're at a lower level on the scale than it is when we're at a higher level. Because the more awareness that we develop, the easier it is to grow even more. The work that we've done acts as support that we're building on. It becomes almost like a pyramid that offers stability and support in this growth process. Now, if we're not intentional in our parenting and we take these ideas as mere slogans, they do have the potential to make us complacent. As a result, we may not try hard enough in our parenting. Being a good enough parent doesn't mean I will not work on controlling my reactions or that now I can unleash my anger on my kids whenever I feel like it. It doesn't mean I don't have to get up in the middle of the night to comfort my child when he has nightmares. When we become complacent, we make no progress. We get stuck at the same level of awareness or lack of that our parents were at. Parenting is hard and it requires a lot of work. Good enough doesn't mean to do a mediocre job. Instead, it means we try our best, we push ourselves out of our comfort zone, we force ourselves to grow in the areas that our children show us we need to grow in, and every day we become a better version of ourselves. We come closer to who we really are. Parenting is a journey we take within ourselves, and it's a long road that we need years to complete, maybe our whole lives. Now, being a good enough parent doesn't mean I'm not going to mess up my kids, even though that would be amazing. It simply means that my parenting goal is to not parent perfectly, but rather to parent a little bit better than my parents did. And that's good enough. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell so you know when new videos come out. And you can also read more about this at encouragingdiscipline.com. You can find the link in the video description. See you next time.